Hi friends. This is my sincere invitation to you to the channel of Story with Sandeep. In the ongoing story of Mountain of the Moon by Bibhuti Bhusan Bandyopadhyay, we heard about Shankar, a boy from small village of Bengal. He had a strong passion toward sports and extraordinary activities. He dreamed about Africa, and somehow he had managed to get a job in Uganda Railways Department as a clerk-cum-assistant storekeeper in a construction team. But due to Lion's nuisance, no one gets peace in there. After working there for a few days, Shankar was appointed as a station master of a small railway station. Mountain of the Moon by Bibhuti Bhusan Bandyopadhyay. Starting 3rd episode. With a new job under his belt, Shankar got off from train cheerfully. His train reached a very remote station, around 3 in the afternoon. The station was very small. The platform was surrounded by a fence made of barbed wire. There was a quarter, behind the station, that would be Shankar's new home. It was tiny, almost like a pigeonhole. When the train, that brought him there, went off towards Kisumu, Shankar felt like he had fallen into an isolated sea. He had never imagined such an utterly isolated place in his life. He was the sole employee at this station, without any colleagues. He was the station master, a signalman, and everything. All rolled into one. The reason for this arrangement was that these stations were not yet profitable. Their existence was still being tested. The railway company was not willing to spend more money on them. Only one train arrived in the morning, besides the one that had left just now, and there were no trains throughout the day. Therefore, Shankar would have plenty of free time on his hands. He had to understand his responsibilities with minimal guidance. The previous station master was a middle-aged Gujarati, knew English quite well. He prepared tea for Shankar and himself. There was not much to explain about the job. Gujarati man was delighted to have a companion to talk after a long time. They both explored the surroundings of the platform. Shankar asked, "Why is it surrounded by a barbed wire fence?" Gujarati man replied,
"Oh, that's nothing. After all, this place is in the middle of nowhere."
Shankar thought that the man had kept something secret. But Shankar did not insist or bother him further. In the evening, the respectable man invited Shankar to have dinner with him. While eating, suddenly the man exclaimed,
"Oh, I forgot something."
"What is it? Did you forget something important?"
"Yes, there is no drinking water here. I forgot to get drinking water from the train."
"What you are saying? There should be water somewhere nearby."
"Nowhere. There is a well, but its water is salty and useless. It can't be used for anything except washing. We get drinking water from the train every day."
"It's quite rarest place. No drinking water. No people." Shankar couldn't understand why the station was established in such a place. But he didn't find the answer from the man. The next morning, the station master left. Shankar was alone. He did his work, had his meals, and slept on the big table in the afternoon. When the shadow fell towards evening, he wandered around the platform. The station was surrounded by vast fields, endless horizons, long grass forests and distant rows of hills. The scenery was beautifully enchanting. The Gujarati man forbade him that he should not wander in these fields alone. Shankar asked why, but there hadn't been a clear answer. But Shankar found the answer from another direction that same night. Without waiting for the night to fall, Shankar sat in the station waiting room, writing a diary with a lighted lantern. The door in front was closed, but not locked, and there was a faint sound coming from behind the door. Shankar cautiously peered outside the door, and saw a huge lion with his nose on the glass, right outside the door. Shankar froze in fear. The door will open with a little push. He is also completely restless. But he remained completely still. There was only a ruler on the table, nothing else. The lion, with a sense of humor, looking at Shankar and the lantern on the table. It seemed as if he was examining it intently. It wasn't long, maybe a minute or two, but Shankar thought, how long he and the lion had been staring at each other. Thereafter the lion lost interest in the tiny human, and moved away from the door in a casual manner. Shankar suddenly regained his consciousness. He quickly went and lifted the door handle. By now he understood why there was a barbed wire fence around the station. But Shankar made a mistake. He understood only partially, and it took him a couple of days to find the remaining answer. The answer came from another direction. The next day, Shankar told the guard about the incident of the previous night. The guard is a good man, listened to everything and said,
"Such situations are prevalent everywhere in this area. 12 miles away from here, there is another station where the same situation exists. This incident is not limited to just here."
Was he about to say something else? But abruptly stopped and boarded the train. After the train started moving, he shouted to Shankar,
"Be careful at all times, don't let down your guard."
Shankar became worried. What was he trying to say? Is there something more than just the lion? Regardless, from that day onwards, Shankar kept a fire burning in front of the station building every evening. He would close the door before dusk and enter the station building, spending many nights sitting and listening or writing diaries. The experience of the night was extraordinary. In the dense darkness of the vast wilderness, a sound is created by the wind passing through the branches of the yucca tree on the platform. In the middle of the field, the fox calls out. Deep in the night, the roar of a lion is heard somewhere. A marvelous life. That's what he desired. It is in his blood. This life, in this desolate region. In this mysterious night. With the sky filled with unknown stars. In this fear of danger. This is the life. A safe and quiet life might be the goal of most people, but he was not one of them. One day, after he signaled off the afternoon train, Shankar was about to enter his kitchen. He stepped back swiftly when he saw something hanging from a post. A big yellow cobra was watching him with bared fangs and icy eyes, holding its hood 2 feet away from the post. Had he noticed the snake even 2 seconds later, this story would have ended here. Now the big question before Shankar was, how to get rid of the snake. The next moment the snake quickly crawled up the post and disappeared in the straw above. Quite a commotion. Shankar must go to that room to cook his meal. It is not the lion, that he might shut the door and keeps the fire burning outside. Shankar hesitated a little, and went into the kitchen, and somehow hurriedly finished cooking and came out to the station house with food and drink before evening. But what is faith at the station house? When will the snake enter the house through some crevice, and how can it be prevented? The next day, on the morning train, a new porter got off from the guard's compartment with Shankar's ration. Twice a week from Mombasa, rice and potatoes are sent by the railway company to the employees of these isolated stations. The cost was deducted from their monthly salaries. The porter who came to drop the sack is Indian, from the Gujarat region. Taking down the bag, he looked at Shankar in a strange way. He quickly got on the train and left, so that Shankar does not ask him anything. What a mysterious secret is hidden in that place. No one wants to reveal it to him. It seems like disclosure is prohibited. What is the matter? 2 days later, he almost stepped on a snake while entering his quarters. Once again, it was a yellow cobra. It could have been the same snake. There is no evidence that it is not a new one. Shankar examined the station house, his quarters, and the surrounding land well that day. Big holes in the ground all over the place, in the quarter yard, on the kitchen wall, on the dirt platform, holes and cracks and rat soil everywhere. However, because of his lack of experience, he couldn't understand anything. One day, later that night, he was sleeping in the station house. It was a very dark night. The room was pitch black. Suddenly Shankar's sleep was disturbed. One of his senses woke up, as if alerting him to an impending danger. In the darkness, it felt like there was a faint sound echoing in the room. Why couldn't he find the torch? It seemed like there was some mysterious sound echoing within the darkness of the room. Suddenly, he felt the torch in his hand. He turned it towards the direction in front of him, and the torch lit up. With a mixture of fear and astonishment, he sat on the bed, holding the torch. Between him and the wall, momentarily dazzled by the sudden flash of a torch, the head is raised, revealing Africa's cruelest and most ferocious snake. The black mamba. The snake had raised, almost half a meter from the floor of the room. It was not something surprising. When the black mamba usually confronts a human, it strikes with its venomous fangs. Shankar also heard, being freed from the black mamba is a form of rebirth. Shankar has a quality since childhood. He is not easily distracted by danger, and he can maintain control over his nervous system, even in grave danger. Shankar understood that, if his hand trembled even slightly, the light would disappear from the snake's eyes, and at that moment the snake would attack. He realized that, his life depended on the firm and steady grip of the torch's light, towards the snake's eyes. If he could maintain this grip, he would be safe. But, if the torch moved even slightly, then there is no way for him to survive. Shankar held on to the torch tightly. The snake's eyes seemed to burn like two flames. The snake's compact and slender body exudes a terrifying power and anger, resembling a standing whip. Shankar forgot about everything around him. The surroundings, the country of Africa, his job at the railway, the Kisumu line from Mombasa, his country, his parents. The whole world had become empty, transformed into those two flickering flames in front of him, leaving emptiness beyond. Darkness is a void like death, like the aftermath of destruction. Truth exists only in this fiercely rising poisonous mamba, capable of injecting 1,500 milligrams of deadly venom with each bite, and ready to unleash its power. Shankar's hand is trembling, his fingers are becoming numb, and it feels like there is no strength in his hand, from the elbow to the fingertips. How long will he hold the torch? Maybe, the two beads of light were not the eyes of a snake, maybe they were fireflies or stars. Or maybe... It seems like the brightness of the torch battery is coming down. Why is the white light becoming yellow and dull? But there were no changes in the fireflies or stars, they are still just as bright. Was it night or day? Will it be morning or evening? Shankar calms himself down. He was momentarily hypnotized by the sparkling eyes. He had to remain alert. In this endless wilderness, there was no one else on the field. He knows his life depends on his own nerves. But he could not go on like this any longer. His arm was becoming completely numb. How long could he hold the torch? Let the snake bite, he wanted to rest his arm. Thereafter, the wall clock struck 3 times. Perhaps Shankar's life had to end sharp at 3 o'clock in the morning. Because his hand trembled, the beads of light in front went out. But where did the snake go? Why didn't it strike? In an instant, Shankar understood that the snake too had temporarily hypnotized, like him. This was his only chance. Faster than electricity, he opened the door in the darkness, went outside, and closed the door from outside the house. He spent the rest of the night on the platform. The next morning, when the train arrived, he explained everything to the guard. The guard came in to see the room along with Shankar. There was no sign of a snake inside the house. The guard was a good man, he said.
Let me tell you then. I have never told you this before. Because I didn't want to scare you. Last night, you have escaped from the death. The previous station master also met his end because of the snake. 2 station masters before him died of snake bites in the station quarters. Where the black mamba lives in Africa, no one comes out alive. I am telling you as a friend, please don't tell the superiors that you heard this from me. Do apply for a transfer. Today.
Shankar replied, I will do that. But it will take some time to get response. Meanwhile, can you do me a favor? I am completely unarmed here. Please get me a revolver or a rifle as a survival tool. And some carbolic acid. Please give me the carbolic acid today, on your way back. He asked a porter of the train to stay back. Together, they spent the whole day to close the holes everywhere. On examination, it appeared that the snake had come out of a hole in the western wall of the station premises. These were rat holes. It is possible that a snake may have entered the hole from outside in search of rats. They closed the hole as far as they could. Shankar collected a bottle of carbolic acid from the guard of down train. He spread acid everywhere and around the house. The porter handed him a big stick. Within 2 or 3 days, the railway company provided him a gun. The end of 3rd episode. Mountain of the Moon by Bibhuti Bhusan Bandyopadhyay.